Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Jeanette.
I'm Eve.
And we are back with another NBC night. Chicago is finally back on our TV sets. And they were great episodes this week. I do have to mention, you might have noticed that last Wednesday we did not put out our Netflix episode that we've been promising you. That will be coming. There's always scheduling conflicts whenever we try to do something fun and exciting for you guys. There's always something that pops up and is like, nope, you can't do this. Sorry. So we're going to stop telling you when we're going to do surprise things, and we're just going to start putting surprise things out there for you. Okay. So sorry we didn't get that to you, but we are back. We're going to dig into the meat of Chicago, starting, as always, rightly so, with Chicago Med. And this was I actually really, I have to admit, it was hard to get back into the groove because I did miss that week. And that took me like a week to catch up. So I'm like getting back into my, I have to watch TV again mode. So it was hard to get connected to Med at first for me. But I got in quick. There's a huge winter storm that they have there, which I can relate to because I don't live far from Chicago. So, and they're low on doctors. So Dr. Song's back again this week. And I actually really like her. And I don't know if I'm the minority on this. I kind of dig her and Will together. I know that is not your preferred. I know you guys want Hannah and Will. I like Dr. Song and Will. I like them.
I mean, we'll see. Like, we've got to dive into what's happening, and then I'll give my reasons as we're talking about it as to why I don't think it'll work. But like this episode, they're working on the same patient. There's a lady named Nina that's brought in. Her small nephew Lucas is with her, and I guess they had like some sort of carbon monoxide like exposure, and the poor lady trying to vent the apartment falls out the window. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible. And she's got like all kinds of, she's bleeding from somewhere. They have to do the x-ray, find out her pelvis is shattered. So they're, trying to bind all of that. And Will's wanting to do a surgery on her to try to fix this. But in the discussion, and this is where my issue is, Dr. Song, I do like her, but in the discussion of where he wants to do the surgery and she's run these numbers, and this lady's outcome percentage, like good outcome, is low. So she's just like, no, like we're not going to do it. Like, I get that perspective, but that is not Will. And so for me, that does not work.
I think the difference here in this scenario, though, is that didn't the power go out in the hospital and the generator had to kick on and they were almost out of blood? Yes. And this one would have required a lot of blood when there was a lot of people who needed blood. So I think there are moments when Will fights too hard for one single patient when there's 30 that all need the same product. And so I think he needs that balancing.
Well, and I get that, but at the same time, even with this, because they try the surgery with one doctor. She can't get I lose track on Med of exactly what's happening, but she can't get the cord in where it needs to go. I know that's definitely not technically correct, but that's what she's trying to do. Okay. She can't get it in there without loosening the binder on the pelvic, and they're afraid
to make her bleed out.
Exactly. So, she calls off. She's like, we're done. We're going back to the ICU. Dr. Song decides she's going to try it again because Will's compassionate heart has obviously gotten to her, and she's like, okay, it was the
boy. It had nothing to do with Will.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would be exactly the same. There's no way I'd let that little boy lose someone else.
But her heart is in the right space, and you can see that from this point, because with Will, with the doctor, she can look at it objectively, which as a doctor, some part of you has to be able to look at your patients objectively. Yeah. You can't be 100% compassionately looking at them. You have to look at both objectively and compassionately. And with this boy, it was when he said, it's my fault. She was just trying to save me because she went up to the second floor to vent his room. And the only reason the carbon monoxide poisoning happened was because he was too cold. So she turned on the oven or the stove. It was the oven.
Yeah.
To warm him up. So it was that boy's plea of, please don't make another one of these deaths be my fault.
Right. And I'm going to be exactly like Will. Like, I'm not going to let that child have that guilt. I
We
don't
see
care.
Dr. Song is the same way though.
I mean, I don't care about the other 30 patients at that point in time. Like,
Neither did
I'm going
she.
to make sure this little boy is not going to like blame himself for this death. Like, I'm not going to do it. And I mean, the thing is too, like, we even had that one doctor, which he's like cardiac. We don't
The
like him
surgeon.
anyways.
No,
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
a butt face.
He's all yelling at them about, you know, using all the blood. But at the same time, like, here's the thing. This lady is here. She needs this procedure. She needs that blood to save her. We don't know for a fact that we're going to run out of blood for someone else that comes in here. We don't know that. Maybe no one else is going to come in that's going to need that. I'm going to save what I can at the moment and not worry about the future. I don't know. But we know Will can do no wrong in my eyes.
That's exactly
And
it.
so, like,
there's a
I
reason
didn't
we
have a
are not
problem.
doctors.
No, like, I could not make those hard decisions. And I like, you know, and I'm not even saying that Dr. Song is wrong. I'm not, because that's the way she looks at things. That's fine. So, like, I don't necessarily think Dr. Song's wrong in her approach. I don't. That's fine. But my thing is that he is never going to change with his compassionate heart and him fighting for his patients in that way. So I just don't think they're a good match. I think professionally they would butt heads a lot. And so, I mean, I think that's what they're trying to, like, I don't know. They put them together 2 weeks in a row. And so I think we're definitely trying to possibly go there. But I still want him with Hannah.
I think you need an opposite though. I think that
No.
Will is so far to one side. He needs to be balanced. He
He's
needs to be
perfect, just
balanced.
like he is.
He's not perfect. That's the whole
Is.
That's why we love Chicago, because there's not a single
No.
character in all of the Chicago world who is perfect. They
Except
are
for
all
Will Halstead and Adam Ruzek.
no,
Yes.
they're all flawed
Yes.
in some way. They have done some sort of wrong. But that's what makes us love them more, is they can have these aspects to their character that need a little bit of tweaking, but they're still good men and women. That's why we love them so much. And I think for Will, I think something that they're trying to highlight is that you do need this. And I think that, but with Will, you could see that, yeah, it was the boy who plied on Dr. Song's heartstrings, but it's also Will's influence over her that she's starting to see. So not only is she going to balance him out to help, I don't think he needs to change that much, but he does sometimes need to look at things more objectively. This was a crisis situation for the hospital. They are low on blood. Yeah, you don't know if someone's going to run out of blood and need blood, but you are in an overflowing hospital where people are constantly overwhelming you. People in cots where people are being stabbed in hallways. Like, you can't deplete a supply when there's no chance of you getting more. You have to use it as you need it. And like, I mean, I'm with you though. If I would want to save my patient at all costs, no matter what. But
yeah, because I'm like,
that's why I'm not a doctor though.
How do you pick? How do you know that this woman can't survive this? I mean, like, she did survive it. Yes, they depleted the blood, but they saved this person. Isn't that your job, to save your patient? And you did that.
It is. And I think it's there's absolutely no freaking way I could be a doctor, because I can't make that choice. I can't say, no, I can't save this person. There's no way. There's absolutely no way I could make that choice.
No, not without trying every single thing
doctors have
possible.
to be able to, in a crisis setting, they have to be able to, I mean, we've seen this on Fire before, where or is it a different show where they tag the people as, yeah, it's been on Chicago, where they give them all the different tags depending on how fierce their issue is, if there is hope for them or if there is not hope for them, and they tag them all the way down. You need to be able to have that line of sight when these things are happening.
Well, you're talking bad about Will, so I might just
no, I love Will. I think that Will is going to impress on her, because we also saw in the last one that I didn't get to discuss, where he was like, no, I'm fine doing it my way. And then he was like, well, maybe I could use your method. And it worked.
I mean, I don't know. I've been waiting for him to have a love for so long. And she's so, like, I like her, but she's so boring.
But I think Will can liven that up. I think she's willing to change, and I think she's willing to learn from him. And I think
kind of boring sometimes too. And don't get me wrong, I love him, but like, I feel like
he was perfect in every way.
No, I do think he's great. I just think he needs like that spice and that feistiness sometimes. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I mean, I definitely do think they're at least giving us those vibes, like that could happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
I like him.
But Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike it. It's just not what I've been hoping for.
That's
So we'll see.
exactly the problem right there.
Yeah.
Your will deserves better. It's like
It does.
saying maybe Adam
Which
Rizzo
not
could be with somebody other than Kim.
never.
Like, see?
Like, never. And that's the thing, but it's not always got to be Hannah, because like I've supported other relationship. It's just I don't know. I'm gonna have to see more. I mean, obviously,
Since
I
Hannah?
gotta. Well, not since Hannah, but it took me a while to get over Natalie, and Hannah managed to do it. So we'll see. Show me some better stuff from Dr. Song. What is Dr. Song's first name? I mean, we're gonna have to learn her first name. I have no idea.
I will learn her first name when they give us a reason to care about her.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know her. I kept writing everybody else. I put their first names. I kept writing Dr. Song because I'm like, I don't know what her name is.
I actually forgot what her last name was too until I saw it written out.
But I mean, this week too, like Will and Dr. Song, their conflicts weren't like the only conflict we saw this week, because Crockett is sort of fighting with 2.0 this week, so they've got their issues happening.
He was in a mood this week. What was
He
he
was
coming off of,
tired.
like 2 doubles or something?
Did she
and
say
running out of
70?
coffee, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like didn't Maggie say like 72 hours or something? Like she said like a long time. How do people do that?
How is that even legal? Like,
It's
were
probably
they even
Technically,
allowed?
it's not. They get away with it with sleeping in an on-call room for a set amount of hours before they return. He's
Yeah.
been
But
at the
also
hospital for 72 hours. I don't think he's been working 72 hours.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he's Crockett. So, I mean, you can't force Crockett
No.
to take a back seat, go take a nap.
But it is
I mean,
dangerous.
probably should.
The other thing that was highlighted this week is the reason that we kind of lump Maggie and Crockett together with this Felix case is because Dr. Charles got to step in there, and Dr. Charles is picking up on all these emotional almost deficits that all of these characters are having in this one grouping right here.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Felix.
Oh,
The poor man had such a rough, I mean, he was already having a rough time with his initial visit.
mm-hmm.
And the poor man gets stabbed in the lobby.
I was real confused when the stabbing happened, if I'm being honest, because I was like, wait, what? Like, what happened? Like, I was like, were we supposed to know who stabbed him? Like, I was like, did I miss something?
I thought I missed a scene. I was like, wait, did I fall asleep for like 15 minutes? Like, I don't understand what this is.
Me too. But no, I mean, it was part of the big mystery of who stabbed him. So I mean, that wasn't something that we even got to see.
No, and I think I felt so bad for Felix because, and even more so for Maggie, because Dr. Charles tried to push that, no, I don't think a hallway is a good place for him. And Maggie was like, well, you don't have a choice, and put him out there. So on top of all of her struggles that she's currently going through, she just took that onto herself as well as, well, this one's on me, nobody else.
Yeah.
And then she let the stabber back into the hospital.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. When we saw that lady the first time, when she first came into the lobby,
I don't remember
like
the
she
first
was
time.
yes, she came in like when they were just showing all the people like coming into the lobby or whatever. She stood out to me because like, she seems like something's up. Because they were like, is anything wrong? She was like, no, like she seemed odd at the time. And so I was like, there's something up with her. I don't know what it is. There's something up with her. And then sure enough, crazy pants.
That must have been right in the beginning when I wasn't paying close enough attention.
It
Because the
was.
first time I saw her was when Maggie let her in.
Yeah, it was like the first scene or something.
Yeah, I was screaming, Maggie, this is sketchy.
I know. And then I got nervous when we get that woman in the room, and like poor Zach, who's like the sweetest like person alive. I was like, oh God.
This week.
I'm like, they're gonna. I was like, do we even care that much about him? They're not gonna kill him, right? I got real nervous for a second, like. But
Zach is standing there like, no, it's okay. I'm almost done. I'm like, Zach, I don't care. Get out. Walk away. This lady is cuckoo. Like,
yeah. Which I felt sorry for her. I mean, obviously she's got schizophrenia too.
Yeah, it's not her fault.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't know what's going on, but my goodness, like, I don't know. But Maggie, I mean, God, she just jumped right in there and then got her arm like sliced open. But
well, with Felix, like I didn't even know, especially since I didn't catch this woman in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I certainly didn't catch it when she took that swipe at Maggie, that the knife was broken. I didn't catch that the knife broke off in Felix either. I didn't understand when they were needing surgery. Like, I did not pay enough attention to this part of the story at all.
Yeah, Crockett said that the knife was broken, and that's the only way that you knew or whatever. He said that I guess they did an X-ray or
didn't
something. The
catch
knife was
that.
broken, which is why he takes him into surgery, which is
I
of
was
course
wondering
why
that.
everything like went crazy in there. But okay, so Crockett's got him in the 2.0 surgery
Mhm.
room, and 2.0 starts telling him that he needs to
Rightly
stop
so.
because he's too. I mean, I get his frustration in the moment because he's just trying to get this done. He's trying to save this person, whatever. But you probably are too tired to be doing this.
Maybe we should be thankful for 2.0 now for not letting Crockett finish the surgery.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I get, like, I wouldn't want to hand my surgery over to my surgical resident either if he was that guy.
But I mean, obviously he pulls it off. So obviously he is capable. So that is something that, like, I mean,
But
you just
Crockett
need to,
stayed in there though with him.
yeah,
And he made a
Yeah.
point. What is his name?
Kai.
Kai. Okay. I don't like Kai. I don't
Kai
like him at all. He
Taka
irritates
Reed.
me.
Yeah.
He irritates me. I don't like him. But he did make a point to say, with your guidance. So he knows how to placate Crockett at least.
Mhm.
He's learned enough about Crockett to communicate
Yes.
to him the way he needs to. So, I mean, he's smart. He's just
Mhm.
arrogant, and I don't like him.
Well, thank goodness for him this week, though, because I mean, like, otherwise, like, what would have happened? Crockett would have probably tried to continue on, or he would have tried to figure something out. Well, I guess 2.0 wasn't going to let him,
No.
which I do feel like I can see the point to where that could be dangerous as well. Like, what if you didn't have Kai in there and the lady's open on the table?
Mhm.
Or I guess it was not lady, it was Felix, but
What if it's a time-sensitive surgery and they only have like X amount of minutes to get this
Mhm.
done, and now we have to find a new surgeon?
But I think that's the point of having a resident and an attending, or a resident and
Yeah.
a chief in there at the same time.
but there's
And I
not
think
always, is there?
usually there's two. Usually there's even like yeah, I think Crockett has usually had an assistant in there, at least an assistant. Even on the other medical shows that I watch. I mean, I don't watch Grey's or some of those other medical shows, but a lot of them usually have two surgeons in there. It's not usually two lead surgeons. It's usually a
Yeah.
surgeon and a resident, or a surgeon and an assistant who can help if there's trouble, because that's just from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
it's wise to have an additional backup.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
that surgeon could have a heart attack. That surgeon could have a seizure. That surgeon could have a
Yeah,
stroke.
that's true. That's true.
So I think from a legal standpoint, they have to have at least an assistant
Yeah.
on a
That's
surgery.
true. That's true, I guess.
But I think that we can certainly see this. I mean, we've seen at first we were like, oh, we like Jack. Oh, we don't like Jack. Oh, we do like Jack. Do we like Jack? And I think I really think that he is going to be an asset. I think he fired Archer last week
Mhm.
because it was a multi-million-dollar machine that was busted at Archer's
Yeah.
frustration.
Yeah.
But I think that we can see this week that he is on Team Med.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
like how he approached it with Crockett. I like that he didn't blow Crockett off. And I like that he even said, I'm going to walk. Keep talking, though, because I'm listening to you. So he
Mhm.
wasn't blowing Crockett off. He wanted Crockett to understand, listen,
What's going on?
you
Yeah.
couldn't monitor this machine. You couldn't turn it on, even though it was working perfectly fine. And I'm going to show you it's working
Right.
perfectly fine. This is for your benefit, not just for mine. So I think that the way Jack handled the situation was excellent, I thought. And so I do think he's Team Med.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was on his side with this. That, I mean, obviously that's a feature that needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. And I think that we can see in this situation that another person who I was worried about this episode of how they were going to handle the situation was Ben with Maggie, because after last week, I have not been as hardcore against Ben as, let's say, Jeanette has
Some
been.
people.
No, I'm going to call you out by name, as Jeanette has
fine.
been.
I'm
But
cool with
after
it.
last week, I was like, she came to you. She said everything that needed to be said between a married couple when there is a problem. You needed to apologize then and start work then. And so this whole episode, when she was starting to, we could tell she's projecting with Felix about that. So
She's
the whole
worried.
episode, I was just
Yeah.
like, where are you, dude? Where are you?
Yeah.
I was starting to lose it.
I
with
was
Ben.
very upset with Ben. I was like, just answer your freaking phone and talk to your
How
wife.
hard is it?
Yeah, it can't be that
Shoot her
hard.
a text, anything, just let her know you're okay.
I'm good.
So
Like
as mad as I've been at Ben, because it has been me that's been really, really mad, I will say I was happy by the end of this. I was happy the way he handled this, and he came back to her, and I'm okay. I mean, obviously it is. And I think, I don't know if they'll show us, because I mean, maybe that won't, but I mean, I got the impression this was a step. He was taking a step to show her like, okay, cool, I'm ready to work on this. So if they're willing to work on it, and he sees how stupid he was being for like not for just ghosting her, then I'm cool. Like, work on it and because I did like Ben. So like, I want them back to what they were. And so hopefully that's going to happen.
There just needs to be more to that apology than I'm sorry it took so long. Okay, fight over. No, you made her wait so long for this. After she appeared in your classroom, you made her wait too long.
Yeah,
it was a punishment. It was petty.
But I don't think I don't know that we'll get a whole lot more of that. I think we're probably just going to move right past it, is my guess.
Oh, I need to see him apologize a little bit more.
I don't know. You might be asking too much, because I don't think he's going to do all that. But maybe we'll see him in counseling. That would work too. If I see them like doing something to like build this back. Like, I don't need to see what he's saying. Just as long as I see that they're both working on it, I'm okay with it.
I'm gonna have to be mad at Ben forever if we do something, and I really don't want that, because
I don't think they will.
I do really like Ben,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to like him, and I don't think that's going to happen again if they just glaze over this and say, okay, we're gonna skip ahead, everything's good.
Yeah,
I think it's so funny that I was the one the most mad about this, and now I'm like, no, it's fine now, I'm cool.
Well, I think it's, for me, it's because that olive branch that was put out to him last week, when you are in a marriage, it's work. When you are in a situation like this, like, I got his frustration. I got he needed time away. But when Maggie came and said, listen, we have to work on this. We can't just end it here. We're better than this. We're stronger than this. All those things that she said, all the ways that she put it, that she's standing before him, obviously vulnerable, obviously broken, crying. You need to step up to the plate, get over yourself, and realize you're right. You were wrong in this situation. I may have dragged it on too long. We do need to work on it. At the very least, it should have been him saying, you're right. We do need to work on it at the very least.
Yeah.
And nothing. He said nothing. That was when I was like, that's not okay. You need to be responsive when someone comes before you like that, being that vulnerable, almost groveling. You don't get to be silent to your partner. And so that's, I think for me, that silence spoke so loud last week that his one sentence of sorry it took me so long was like, that all you sorry for? Not that you pulled the Christopher and kept her in the dark and pretended like she didn't matter for weeks.
Like, okay, sorry it took so long. Now keep going.
Yes. I mean, it was a start. It was definitely a step, and I'm glad to see them back together. I just need to see him put in work. I can't have Chicago Med just be like, all right, he apologized. Everything's gravy now. Like, no, because there's clearly issues that have to be dealt with.
Yeah.
I just need to see it. Not even all of it. I just need to, even through Maggie saying, we're in counseling.
Yeah.
Ben and I have a meeting with the therapist tonight. Like, just, if I get those little nuggets, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, because I don't think they'll do a whole lot. They might give us that. I hope so. Because I think Med just has far too many characters and different storylines happening for them to be able to do that.
People. Yeah.
So I'm just hoping we see Maggie and Ben get things right again, because the two of them, they were so solid. But one relationship I'm glad is kind of going the other way, which is getting better and better each week, is Archer and his son.
I love it. I am so here for it.
I have to admit, though, that I didn't have much hope this week. The way that things were going at the very beginning of that little storyline, I was like, oh God, now they're going backwards and I don't like this, but it worked this week. I feel like they are getting to a really good place.
And I was a little disappointed in Dean because Sean was obviously not on anything when he was in the hospital. Like it was obvious to me he wasn't on anything. Yes, it was also obvious he was hiding part of the story from his dad. But I think once given the story, as a doctor, he should have been able to see Sean's not under the influence and should have been able to separate why he didn't tell his dad what the real story
I think it would
was.
also be concerning though that
Well,
like
concerning
someone
for
who
sure.
who is an addict and who has just gotten out of jail, that you're even spending any sort of time with someone that is using. So I think that's probably where his fear. Plus, it sounds like it was a rough road with Sean. So we don't know all the details of what all like Dean has been through in the past with this, and I think that's just where he was stressed about.
I think that he didn't. I think that he didn't want to. I don't think he actually thought Sean was on anything. I think that his concern was you're with the wrong people. But the way I think Dean is such like a man about things. I can't say when I'm afraid. So he instead used belittling language and the wrong word choice. And I think Sean kind of got that too. So I outright cried a little bit in this storyline, like happily, because
it was nice.
I really like Sean's character, and I hope that we do. I don't think we're going to see a ton of Sean because he's not a doctor, but I think we'll see as much as we were seeing of Ben, which that didn't make sense either because he's a school teacher, but seemed to always be at the hospital.
He's a dedicated teacher. He would come with all of his kids every time someone got a bruise. He was right there with them
all day in the middle of the school day. But so I think
they must not have a teacher shortage in that county. Okay, plenty of subs.
So I think I would like to see more of Sean. I don't know how much that's possible, but I have a theory that Dean is going to get sicker and sicker, and Sean is going to be the one to pick up his slack and be there for his dad and help him through his illness in the way that Dean might have been helping him through his addiction.
I think that Dean is going to need a kidney transplant and Sean is going to be the donor.
I don't know if he can be.
Well,
he can't be if he's an addict.
It
depends on A, how damaged his organs are. It depends on B, how long it's been since he's had drugs in his system. And I think
which he's been in prison for a certain amount of time. So he may have had to have been clean for, obviously however long he's been in there.
But where addiction really comes into play on whether or not you're using is typically, yes, you can't give a kidney if you are currently using because there's obvious complications with that. But it's if there's a chance you might get hooked again, that tends to be more towards if you're receiving an organ. If there's a chance you might relapse. So anyway, the story that happens there that he obviously was up, and I love Zach in this too, because Zach was like, here's this case. And Dean's like, and why are you showing this to me? So Zach, I like how Zach handled Archer too. And I like the respect that Archer had for Zach through this process because Zach did handle this case well. He was discreet. He wasn't putting anything in anyone's face. He was like, I just thought you might want to be seeing this. You might want to be a part of this. And so the Clint comes in saying, oh yeah, I just got randomly jumped. No idea why. And obviously he was doped up heavily. I mean, he was on multiple things.
Oh yeah.
Didn't Dean say there's an entire pharmacy in his system or something?
There was
like that?
amphetamines, benzos, and opioids all in his system.
So, I don't know how he seemed to be so clear while talking to them. Like that was your words should have been slurred. Something wow. I was borderline impressed.
Okay. He should not have been okay as he was.
Right?
I don't know much about drugs, but I'm pretty sure if you have that kind of pharmacy going on in your body, you should be completely incapacitated.
Most would think so.
Usually if you take uppers and downers, it just, I don't know. It sounds like I'm an addict. I am no longer. So just to be very clear, I just know that uppers and downers don't tend to react friendly in your body together.
Yeah.
So I think that was the tipping point for Dean, where his fear just spiked. And then to see that I don't think Sean was listening to his conversation about Hannah to like spy on Dean, to whatever. I think that he could see that his dad was stressed out. I think he could see that his dad was starting to panic. And I think his only thought was, I can help him. I know how I can help him. He didn't ask. He didn't need to be told. Sean just went out and got Hannah for the sake of getting her. And I just, that was the part I was like, oh, yes. I got a little giddy when I saw it with Sean. And then it was just to watch him do that. And the look on Archer's face when Sean came in, it's like, I got to move my truck. And Archer was just, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. He was so immensely proud and in awe of his son. And the fact that Sean saw that was what made me tear up.
Yeah.
I think Sean needed to see that his dad felt that way about him.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I've been pretty iffy about Sean too, because I've been because I want to like him, because I really do like how Archer has been getting more and more likable since this storyline came into play. But for a while, I've been thinking, I don't know if we can trust him. Yeah. This is going to end well. But this episode, I was happy to be pleasantly surprised. I was like, okay, he's a good guy. We're gonna love him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure.
And then how Dean asked him to go to give him a ride home, and he said something about snow. I was just like, oh, just continue this, please. Don't ever stop this.
It was
Don't ever stop it. I will say though that I was a little confused because again, I apparently wasn't paying attention the entire first 20 minutes of this episode, because I even put in the chat, did I miss when Hannah called the National Guard to come pick her up?
So that's when they mentioned in the beginning, like that, because I think Dean asked about like Hannah or something.
I remember that.
Like Sharon replied something about the like National Guard was going to be out, I guess, getting doctors like to the hospitals and stuff, like the people that couldn't get out.
It was really quick. It was like
it was just
a quick little thing.
Yeah. So before we get into what Hannah's doing, okay, this is another thing that I have to bring up, and I want to know if I'm making it up or if anyone else is seeing this weirdness. Okay, why is Dean like overly concerned with like Hannah's well-being?
I think because she was the one to, like, at first I was getting like romantic vibes, which was like, meh. I think it's more father-daughter. I think over the past couple of weeks, I've seen more father-daughter concern. And I think it has to do with the fact that Sean has re-entered his life. Hannah's an addict, a recovering addict, and he's seeing her overcome. So he's very invested in her staying on the right track because he so desperately wants Sean to stay on the right track. And I think that those two, Hannah being entered into his life, overcoming addiction at the same time that his son is re-entering his life, recovering from addiction, is something he's very invested in that because of that. And Hannah cares for Archer, I think, almost like a father figure. And I think he's receiving that from her because his son was so closed off to him for too long.
I just want to make sure that I hope that's what we're doing, because we going back to like the Will thing, we had like that one moment in the shower after that, like, and then like, it was like after that, like they haven't even had a scene together since then. And so I just got worried that like we're taking these in two completely opposite directions. And I would
not support that. That would be
I wouldn't either. Look, that's just not, I mean, it's just not my thing, but like an age gap, like romance trope, it's not my thing. I'm not into it.
I will say I did feel that at first though. I was like, gross. No, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. But over the last couple weeks, I think that.
Yeah. I would love for Dean to have a love interest. I like him.
Just not Hannah.
Not Hannah, because ew.
Because Hannah's probably like, I mean, what do we think? Like 35? I mean, like, if that, I mean, like, I'd say she's like early to mid, like
much younger than like half his age.
Exactly. Which that's fine. You know, I mean, everyone's adults, they can do what they want. Like, but that's not my It's not, I don't know, it's not my thing, I guess.
You know,
So.
for me, it was weird when Crockett was with that older doctor too. Like that was weird. I mean,
At
it was
least
weird.
that-
I was weird. It was weird because he was also dating her daughter, but
That was
it
weirder.
was
that
just
part.
weird. It was the difference in their ages and their standings.
Mhm.
She was the chief of the department. He was under her. Dean is the chief of the ED. Hannah works in the ED. So it's that
Yeah.
imbalance of power that feels like it makes it feel dirty.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but I mean,
Huh.
she was struggling this week, and Archer was very concerned about
Like,
whether or not she could get there, whether or not she could get there safely.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know. He was concerned. So, but hopefully, like you said, it's just father-daughter thing. I'm gonna try to just put everything else out of my head. But okay, yeah, so she's being picked up by the National Guard, which I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like, that they just go, but I guess that makes sense that, like, I mean, these doctors need to get to the hospital. So I guess that's something that, you would do because, they're essential workers. You got to get them there. Of course, on the way to the hospital, they find like a motorist like on the road who's had a car accident, which I mean, good time, it's good for him that, they stopped or whatever. I always love in these shows though, they get him out of the car and then stuff blows up. Like, oh, perfect timing, right? Like, how long has he been sitting there? And like, you just happen to get him out of the car right as it's all blowing up. It's funny. But that like stops him because like then not only does it like bust the tires on the vehicle, but like both Paul the patient and I had to write down, they didn't tell us, Corporal Parker, they didn't tell us his first name. They both took shrapnel from whatever, from the car explosion. So here Hannah is like trying to doctor everyone. I love Hannah.
I do.
I mean,
too.
she is like a boss and I'm like here for it. I mean, she's handled all of that so well. When she took that Cheeto bag and made like a little like vent, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is
another
crazy.
situation where I happened to look down and then I looked up and it was already on him. I'm like, what is that? What is that that's on him? Why does it look like
Cheeto
brains?
bag. Oh, it's a Cheeto bag.
I knew it was, but you know how it's got like the picture of Cheetos on there?
Yes.
I couldn't make it out and it just looked like brains to me. I was like, what is she putting on? What is that? I could have rewound it, but I was on a time schedule, so I didn't. And I just thought I'd figure it out, and I never did. So I'm glad that you were telling me now. Thank you.
It's a Cheeto bag. So it was great.
A whole lot less horrifying than I was imagining.
Right. But I don't know. I've never even thought about that. What I saw must have been New Amsterdam because that's the show I'm watching right now. But I saw like just recently somebody else make a seal like that out of like something insane. And I'm just like, man, I'm learning so much from these shows. Like if I ever had the situation, like I know what I need to do now,
Okay. Now I did mention that in one of our interviews to one of the guys who plays an ER doctor. I was like, so do you just feel like you can doctor everybody? Because I feel like I can. And he was absolutely horrified that came out of my mouth. So maybe we're not learning as much as we think we are.
I think we could do it.
I think maybe we don't need to be too cocky about that.
I mean, push come to shove. I'm like stuck in a snowstorm, can't get somewhere. I can
Push come to shove, I'm going to forget absolutely everything from these
I
shows.
guarantee there's like chip bags laying all over my car. There always is.
Nope, I'm gonna panic and start crying. That's my
Pretty
game.
much.
I'm good under pressure.
We're all
I could do
screwed
this.
if I'm the only adult on the scene.
Oh no, I handle pressure really well. I could
I do
this.
too. I just don't handle medical emergencies real well.
Oh, I do. On the inside, I'm like crazy, but like I'm good. Every time my kids busted their head open, had to go to the hospital, I'm like, it's fine, we're good. Just put the paper towel, hold it right there. And David's freaking out. I'm like, it's fine. And on top of all of like this is Hannah's dealing with out in the field before she gets to the hospital, like Dean's had to call her a couple times because of course she's not there and there's like an OB emergent patient that comes in and he's having to deal with all of that on his own.
No, Zach helped him with that.
Oh yeah, I guess he did. Well,
because Dean even brings it up when when there's another patient who came in and he said, no, I think Zach can handle this one on his own. That was the respect that he got from Dean, was because he helped deliver that baby.
Yeah.
And the look on, Dean passing out pride this week like it's money to these people.
I know, it's so good.
I really like to see that the look on Sean's face, the look on Zach's face when Dean said something nice, and you could tell that I don't think Dean has ever said a single nice word to Zach.
No,
ever.
Well, I mean, he doesn't say many nice things at all.
But Zach especially, I remember his first time in the ER with Dean, and Dean was like, "Are you kidding me?"
What was it? He did say something this week too, though. What was it? There was one time when he was like, "This is my first time doing this," or I forget what it was about, and Dean was like, "I can tell." I just love his little humor like this. I can tell.
I really do enjoy Dean. He makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I can't remember what he was talking about, but I remember thinking that was really funny.
And I think that this just cements his position as he deserves this ED chief role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had to call Hannah, but he handled it and his staff handled it because they
Yeah.
had, and I think Zach handled it so well because he had full confidence in Dean.
Yeah. These cases always freak me out a little bit. I feel like this is all over the place. I want you to know, I never heard of preeclampsia before I had Elena. Like when they told me that I had it, I'm like, what is that? I swear to God, I hear it all the time in these medical, and I watched medical shows before too.
The
Every
first time
time-
I heard it was on the show Passions. And so I thought it was made up.
So I used to watch Passions. I don't know if I just like blocked this out because I was like, I've never heard of this. And then now I'm like, I know tons of people that have had it. It's on every medical show multiple times. I'm just like,
Yeah, every time a pregnant person comes into the hospital, I'm like, oh, it's preeclampsia.
well, yeah, as soon as I say your
I
blood
already
pressure's
know what-
elevated,
Like, don't run the tests. I know what it is.
they'll say, oh, there's blood pressure elevated. I'm like, well, it's preeclampsia then.
Eve's trying to call all the hospitals in Chicago. Let me tell you what this is. I got it. I got you.
We all get real excited. Eve's even put it in the thing, like when watching New Amsterdam, when like a familiar disease pops up, we're like, oh, we know this one. We've seen this on every show.
Or, like whatever
Yes.
it's called. This is the third show it's been in. I'm like, I know
Yep.
what that is.
Mhm. We know how to treat it. I'm
I'm
telling
a
you,
medical professional.
can
I
do
know how to
this.
do this.
These medical shows have no idea what they're creating in their fans and their shows. Really
Right.
overconfident binge TV watchers.
look, I've now watched Chicago Med, Grey's Anatomy,
Listen, I'm
New
certified.
Amsterdam,
I'm
The Resident.
certified in all these shows. I am
watched-
practically a PhD.
I watched ER way back in the day. I don't remember half that, but I did. I watched it. Got this.
I guarantee you don't.
Let me just think that I do, okay?
But Katie is the pregnant
Katie.
patient, by the
Yes.
way.
Back to Katie.
And Eve knew what she had from the moment she walked in the room.
I'm the expert. But I feel like everybody was unnaturally calm through this whole thing because first of all, their, resident OB was, otherwise occupied. And this woman is like, okay. Granted, she was calm because everybody else was,
Mhm.
but I did not think it was going to end as well as it did. I
No.
was
Let me tell
extremely
y'all.
panicked the whole time until we saw that baby.
I mean, talking about being calm, I will say that, at least in my experience in real life, this is how they handle preeclampsia too. Because I will never forget the day that I went in. Brand new, I was like 29 years old, having my first baby. I don't know anything. She's like, okay, your blood pressure is a little elevated. So it was like 2 weeks before. I know this is side talk, but 2 weeks before I had her. And they were like, we're probably going to have you stop working sometime soon. And I'm thinking, okay, hopefully not too soon. The next week I go in, she's like, well, okay, now you've got to go on bed rest. I mean, like they walked me into this. And then the day I had Elena, she said, well, I think that we're going to be having a baby real soon. I'm still thinking, okay, cool. Like maybe later on this week, I guess. They bring in like a wheelchair. And I'm like, you mean like right now? And she was like, yeah, right now we're going to take you over there. I'm thinking, I have to call my boss. Like he's expecting me to come in like here in just a little bit. Like, but they were that calm the whole time. She walked me through very gently, like, okay, you're going to give birth like soon, today, right now. I'm like, what? So,
That is how
that
Zach
was-
handled it too, because he just moved the
Yes.
curtain aside. He's like, she's having the baby. And Dean said, no, she can't. She was just at 1 centimeter. And Zach's like,
What's happening?
I think that was the one where I think Zach said he's never delivered a baby before.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's coming. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. He watched a lot of
Listen.
medical dramas too.
he knew he could handle it, right?
I was right
No.
there with him and I knew what I was doing.
He was like, all right, Zach, Dean, this is what you're gonna do now.
We got this.
Baby's gonna come out and you're gonna catch it. That's as much as I know.
It's gonna shoot right out.
Because that's how it happens.
Slide
Right?
it out, easy peasy.
Mhm.
Easy peasy.
No.
Oh,
Says the poor Eve with no children. It's like, oh, it's easy peasy.
Next week we get even more of Hannah, which yay.
I'm a
Love
little
Hannah time.
worried about her judgment next week.
Yeah, I think she'll be fine. I think her initial reaction she'll want to save this lady that overdoses after having the baby. But I think that's why Dean is there. I think he'll fix her, like, and get her to understand that. I do think she'll get too involved in this person. I do think that.
Just like she's gonna see herself.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
for sure.
obviously the preview shows us this woman, I believe she OD'd on heroin in the hospital. She's
Yeah.
at least found splayed out on the floor with her heroin. I don't know if she shut up or if she inhaled it. I don't know. I couldn't tell what was there. They zoomed away from it too fast.
Yeah.
But either way, she had a boatload of heroin and she was passed out on the floor. So I believe she OD'd right after giving birth to a baby. And Dean is obviously like, you're not seriously thinking we're going to send this baby home with this woman. So I think next week is going to be interesting. I think it's going to hit us all a little differently because most of us are moms. But I don't think you have to be a mother to appreciate this episode. I think you just have to be a human being to understand this condition that Hannah has. It's not just because Hannah's not a mother. It's not just about being a mom. It's about seeing someone in a place where you've been and trying to not put all of you into their place at that moment.
Yeah.
And I think we might see Hannah overcome some things. And I think we're going to see Dean overcome some things with his son. I think this might be the point they've been building up to with the Dean-Hannah relationship. Because they're both intrinsically tied to addiction. Obviously, Dean through Sean, not himself, but Hannah's directly. So I think this is what they've been building up to with their relationship. I think we'll be rewarded with a non-romantic
I hope
peak
so.
to their relationship next week. So
I hope so.
So that was Med. We always talk the longest about Med.
I know. Hopefully we can fly through this.
So
So
we're
we're
gonna
11:30.
Jump into fire.
So that call we saw in the preview last week, that's sort of what we're seeing here. It's a crazy one, and it's kind of gave us like a new storyline that I'm not sure if we're done with completely but it was interesting this week anyways.
First of all, I just want to say that this call was like 911 level weird.
Yes, that's what I thought too.
911 is the show that gets all the really weird calls, and I know that 911 is based like on like real calls, but they must like pick like the most
ones.
random, like funny ones. And Fire usually is a little more I don't know, the calls aren't usually this like as comedic, which there's nothing funny about someone having an arrow through their neck.
See, you're gonna have to explain yourself a little, Eve.
No, I know what she means though. Like, it's odd that it would happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those strange occurrences.
It's a very odd injury.
Okay, yes, that I'll agree with.
Yeah. And even the way the lady like came to the door was like, come in, it's really bad. I mean, it was just, it honestly did feel like a 911 like LA like show. That's what it felt like.
But yeah, I was a little nervous because it seemed at first like they weren't going to be able to even get him into the ambo because, you know, they had to cut off part of the arrow, but then they couldn't do that without causing more damage. I was like, oh God, this is a terrible start to this episode.
I was really proud of myself because when Kelly was like, we'll cut it, I was like, no, you can't, it's gonna vibrate. And then she said that, I was like,
see,
oh,
you could be a medical professional too.
No, I would accidentally kill someone every day. Nobody wants that.
Oh, but then they like did some kind of rap thing, like
Figure 8 rap
to stabilize. That was cool.
Got weird vibes from Kelly to Brett this week.
Okay, so it's not just me. I asked Amanda too, and she was like, "No, I didn't get that on them."
Weird vibes. The way
Like,
he
I
kept
don't,
looking at her.
and like, well, and also like when we talk later about, I mean, and we'll talk more a little bit more in depth this, but like when they start bringing up Casey, it
Mhm.
was just like they were having this conversation about love, and it was odd. And I don't know if it's just because, to be honest, as long as Brett and Kelly have been on the show together, they rarely share scenes.
Yep.
And so maybe it's just that. Maybe, unfortunately, that Kara and Taylor have chemistry and it just came through. I don't
Okay.
know.
Let's be real
But
honest. Taylor Kinney can have chemistry with a potato.
absolutely. But there was something different here. I'm glad because Amanda didn't see it. I was
Oh,
like,
it was there.
okay. I don't know what the purpose was or if there was a purpose at all, but
I think
it
there
was,
was.
their scenes were strange, in my opinion.
But I think it wasn't romantic as it was coming off. I think it's just nobody's fault that Taylor Kinney is that charismatic and has great chemistry with everybody. I think it was supposed to come off as he was awe-inspired by the saving work that she was actually doing, compiled with he's feeling more compassionate, like he needs to do more for people, which is the direction I think they're going to take it with. Because I'm trying to figure this into. This is going to play into his exit somehow.
But I think
I
this
think.
was filmed prior because the preview for this was already out.
I think Taylor knew he
Before.
was exiting before he announced he was exiting, before we heard it. I
Okay,
think he's
maybe.
known for a while that this
Maybe.
was coming. I think he probably had to organize it with him because they have to build in a storyline for how he's going to exit. He's not just gonna be like, "Hey, by the way, I'm out next week for a couple months." They have to build it into the
Like Jay
storyline.
Halstead, yeah.
So I think that he probably knew ahead of time, and they're going to utilize this somehow to speak to his exit.
Maybe. It was strange, I think.
It
But
was
I
weird.
mean, I don't know.
Made me uncomfortable a little bit.
It made me uncomfortable, and not a lot makes me uncomfortable.
Well, Alex turned up. It turns out he was just fine. They got him to the
Mhm.
hospital. And his wife comes and says he's doing good, and then she wants to give each of them $3,000.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, well, I could use $3,000. Like, why don't you guys take it and just like all?
You could tell they both thought about it for a second, but then they
Mhm.
were like, "No, we can't."
Brett a little more than Kelly.
Well, Brett, I think with the money, it wasn't as big of a deal. It was when the iPhones came up. She was like, "But my screen is cracked."
Mhm.
I mean, like she really wanted that iPhone.
And Kelly is so all about the job that
Mhm.
he is all about every rule on like he'll break rules to save someone's life. But when
Yeah.
it comes to him, he holds himself to such a strict standard that it doesn't even know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they couldn't do it. Which, I mean, like his wife said though, like Alex was not giving up. Like
When she said that, I was like, "Ooh, is he like abusive or something?" The way she said it was like
I
a little
know
bit like, ooh.
it was a little weird, but I think she just meant like, no, he's gonna, and I
Because she
mean,
said
eventually,
he's not going to be happy about this. Like, okay.
Oh, is he going to threaten me with even more money? Like,
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Exactly.
And though
Um,
someone said in our chat, couldn't they have suggested donating to the fire station or to Chicago Fire Department?
well, maybe they still couldn't just
Is that you, Eve?
simply.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, can't they just say thanks? Go ahead and donate it to like the fire department.
They could
Maybe.
have done that because they do fundraisers for the city of Chicago. They do accept money for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason Kelly and Brett couldn't take it is because it would be conceived as a bribe.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought with the iPhones for a second there, I was thinking like they were gonna put those in as the big basket for Herman's thing, but that didn't. Like, I was like, that would be a big gift, like 2 brand new iPhones. But then I don't know, Kelly found another way, which I thought that was cool, which still tied into like the fundraiser. So
Or Herman was on a struggle bus this week.
Herman.
So I was obviously not on last week, but this Herman storyline is killing me. Like I can't even see her on the screen without like erupting into tears.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. When she was saying that she wanted to check out her insurance before she put, like, she's still trying to be everybody's everything, even though she has this, and she's
Mhm.
trying so hard. And what really, really killed me was when it wasn't just that she's trying to be everything. I think she's afraid of so many different things.
Mhm.
She's afraid to not be there for her kids. She's afraid to not be there for her husband.
Mhm.
And she's so afraid of what this is going to do to her body. And I have never, ever related to his story more. And I
Yeah.
love her. So this is a really, really hard storyline for me. But she does this fundraiser every year. And this is another thing that she's afraid of, is her worth as a stay-at-home mom, as someone who does all these things for her kids and her school. She can no longer be counted on for these things. And that's
Yeah.
scary. When
Yeah.
that is your life and that's your existence, it's scary to have that taken away. I was a group mom for all my kids' classrooms. I went on the field trips. I did the baskets for the fundraisers. I did all these things. And to suddenly be like, I can't be dependent on for anything. And to have the athletic director at our school who would say, no, I'm not letting you coach. You can't coach. You can't do it. It's hard and it's scary. And I think that Cindy plays that fear off really well. And I loved that scene where Lee Henry came up. He's like, all right, Dad, I'm going to go do this and you're going to go do this and we're going to do this. And I mean,
I loved him for that.
I'm sorry. Chris is like husband frickin' goals.
Yeah.
Christopher Horman there's a reason he's been my favorite guy. And it was even before this storyline appeared.
Mhm.
But I love how he handles this. I love it. I was a little worried that he was not going to accept help. And then watching, I'm sorry, Annabelle got real old. The last time we saw her, she was what, 8?
Yes.
I was
Like,
so confused. I was like, wait, that's not Annabelle. Annabelle's supposed to be 7.
Well, and I think we saw her like just in passing, obviously when they told the kids about stuff, but I guess I didn't pay attention.
I didn't
It
either.
wasn't like, it's not just her. I mean, my gosh, we're talking about also like, this is Max's
Lee
school's
Henry,
fundraiser.
too.
He's making out with the girls or whatever. Like, I mean, they're all so big. I was just like, oh my gosh. But Annabelle had me cracking up this week. I don't even think I put this in the notes. But when she's
That's why I
sitting
brought it
there
up.
with Ritter and Gallo, and they're like, okay, here, we're gonna go over and talk to her. Because you know
We're the
them.
cool young guys.
They're cool. They're cool and they're young. But to her, who's what do we think she is? Probably like 13, 14. Like she's
I
probably
think
like
so.
young teenager.
15, something like that.
Definitely those are old guys and they are not cool at all. And she put them in their place so fast.
And she was basically like, I like being left alone, go away.
And
With Cap, that was my favorite. Was with Cap tried to
So
escape
awkward.
her. He tried to run from her every time she was in her
when the poor guy had to take
kept
off his shirt.
apologizing to her.
When Herbert was like, give me your shirt, and he took it off, and she was like, so awkward. He was just so embarrassed. I'm like, this is a grown man. This child is just embarrassed. But that is what girls her age are like. They are scary. Because I've got one at home right now. You do too. They are scary when they get moody like this. You're just like, I don't know what to do or where to look or what to do right now because I'm gonna make you mad no matter what I do. Yeah.
What I liked about what Annabelle in this episode is, like, even with the ping pong table, she's like, oh, lame. And Cap went, sorry. Like it was
It's not his fault.
And when he took off her shirt, she's awkward. He was like, sorry.
It was the best. It was the best.
I was like, this is going to be a rough week, a rough shift for everybody in the firehouse, however long Annabelle's going to be hanging out there.
I loved it.
The more you put Cap on the screen, the happier I am, honestly. I just like it. But I mean, obviously, Cap's dirty, sweaty man shirt and a broken fire hose cover or tip or whatever it was. Stupid basket.
Yeah.
Mouch.
Well, and that's, sorry, I was just going to say kind of the same thing. I mean, poor Mouch was like trying to offer help, but Ritter and Gallo were just like, they just told him like it is. They said, no, this is
sucks.
dumb. This sucks.
This sucks.
And they just took it over, which is exactly what he needed. I mean, I was upset because he looked kind of sad at first, but it's what he needed. I mean, he forgot his poor child at school, the one he was in charge of, like.
That was another scene that made me cry.
And
Yeah.
Annabelle's just sitting there. She's like, "Where's Kenny?" I'm like, "Oh no,
Oh,
they forgot
God.
poor Kenny."
The panic on Chris's face when he was at that school. Like,
Yeah.
Great. Another parent saw him waiting, you dropped him off. Could you not have, I don't know, maybe called the firehouse and said,
Yeah.
hey, I'm bringing Kenny, or let someone at the school know, hey, when Christopher Herman, if he shows up, let him know I'm doing it. Like something. The
Something.
terror that he felt. And it wasn't just terror of, I lost my kid. Someone took, I mean, he lives in Chicago, for goodness sake. You can't
Yes.
just take someone's kid and not let them know you took their kid. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, why- it's like no call from the school saying, "Hey, you haven't picked up your kid yet. Where are
Yes.
you?"
Well,
And
I'm surprised
what is going on at that school where they're just letting a parent
Right.
that's not
drive off
realistic.
with the kid? It's like, no. Like, I've had to tell
Mhm.
Yeah.
parents who aren't on their kids' paperwork, "I'm
Yes.
sorry, you cannot take your
Yes.
child. You have to
Even
call
if
mom."
you know that they are friends,
Oh.
related, whatever, they have
Yeah.
to be on that list. You can't, like our
I
school, everybody knows everybody. You have to be on a list. Doesn't matter if you know them.
can't check my kids out without my ID, even though
Mhm.
they all know me. My child's been going there for 6 years. They know who I am. They know I'm her mother. I have to have my ID to prove that I'm her
Mhm.
mother because that's the rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there have been, I will admit, there have been some allowances once I got my cancer diagnosis and I got a little more flaky where they would, but the school would still call me. Be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is happening. Did you know? Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, no, I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there been some, but still the school always called. So
Yeah, it was very unrealistic.
I don't know if they did that because it was Cindy or if they're just whatever, but I felt so bad for Herman in that moment. Like,
Mhm.
I don't like it when David Eichenberg is sad.
I know.
It's like watching Taylor Kinney sad. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right or natural. And he was almost in tears and I hated it. And then, of course, the big idea of the ride along is just another way to kick Herman in the pants. Because
Yeah.
the dad is Max's girlfriend's dad.
Well, but okay, let's back up just a little bit to the person that was trying to get the ride along.
I do
That
not
was
like
a
that
random
woman.
storyline. I'm like, okay, woman, his wife is at home with cancer.
Mhm.
Leave him alone.
And I'm sorry, have you met either of the Hermans before?
Yeah,
Because
you don't
there's
stand
no
a
way either
chance.
one of them are straying from anything.
Ever. No.
Like
That was a random story. Like that was kind of random, and I thought that was a little strange.
and it was
But
I was
Go ahead,
really
Eve.
upset because, obviously Cindy is very, very involved in the school. So chances are the parents know her. They know
Yeah.
who she is. And the fact that she's getting all like buddy with her husband, it's just not right.
Plus, I'm telling you what, Cindy Herman, I wouldn't mess with her.
No,
There's just something about her. That woman
she's
would be in
scrappy.
trouble. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I mean, the
she's been
woman's
married-
got 5 sons too. Okay, she's had and Annabelle, who seems to be worse than even the 5
and
boys.
she's
So
been married to Herman for years. So I
Mhm.
mean, that woman, you don't mess
And she has 5 sons in Annabelle who all will listen to her if she even looks in their direction.
yeah.
If Annabelle bows to her mother and what she says, you should be very afraid of Cindy Herman.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Like I
just-
wouldn't mess with Cindy for any
No.
reason whatsoever.
No.
Cancer or not. I'm not
No.
gonna mess with her a little, even at all.
I've never wanted to be friends with a fictional character more than I want to be friends with Cindy Herman, like ever
Maybe
in my
her and
life.
Trudy. I want to be in their book club.
Yes, so
So
bad,
much.
so bad it almost physically hurts.
I at least want to see the book club because they've talked about it and they've never
Yes.
shown it. I'm like, can
I
we
mean, we
please
did once, didn't we?
1
I
minute?
think so.
When
Just
Joe
one-
Cruz was a part of it.
I would love for just all the wives. Like I would love for Chloe and
Mhm.
Donna and all of them to just be like
Yes.
together hanging out because I think that
Yes.
would be amazing.
Oh, when they were when I'm gonna make myself cry again, so I'm just gonna cover my face like this. So viewers,
Okay.
I'm sorry if this is weird for you. But when Mouch went into Bowden's office and he was like, when I think of Trudy and the possibility, and Bowden was like, well, I hugged Donna every other minute. Like,
I know.
those men love their wives
I
so
know.
much. And I hate that we had to watch them be sick. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate
I
it.
know.
I did, but again, that's the nature of 51. This family atmosphere. I mean, they all worked together to do those baskets at Molly's. They did they came up with the big ride along idea. And also, can I just say, I love that last week Violet was like, I give great advice, and it blew up in everybody's faces. But I think her advice was still good. She was still right. It's not.
Yes.
They're dummies. It's not their fault that they're
Absolutely.
dummies, but she's still right. And this week she's like, yeah, I came up with a good idea. And it also bit Herman in the butt. So it's just, Violet, stop telling people things.
I know,
Stop
right?
telling people things. But this is,
I think it'll be fine.
it will be fine. I mean, it's just a dad laying down the law. And honestly, Herman also wanted to lay down the law. It was Cindy who was like, let him have fun. So I think
I
Herman
loved it when she said that, because I was just like, Cindy, she's tough, mom, but she's also like realistic,
understanding
mom.
of what is actually going to happen.
They're teenagers. Of course they're making out people. This is what teenagers do with their significant others. Okay. Like,
we're not going to discuss that right now, Jeanette.
Well, it's going to happen.
Stop it.
I'm right there with you. It's going to happen probably about the
6
same
feet
time,
apart,
okay?
always. They will never be closer than 6 feet apart, not ever.
Well, you keep telling yourself that.
It's because I'm going to be on all their dates with them.
Okay.
Sorry.
So he's sneaking around finding other ways.
Stop it.
It
Anyway,
has not been that
we are
long since
moving
you
on.
were a teenager.
I had a very different upbringing than my children did.
Teenagers are teenagers, though. I'm just saying.
We're going to move on swiftly from this topic.
Okay.
So this is where Alex comes into play, because obviously Severide watching, and this is, Severide is never overtly affectionate with, and they talk, we're going to get into this in a minute when we talk about the conversation Stella and him had, but he's never overtly affectionate with this team with 51. He's never lovey-dovey with them, but he always shows up for them in one way or another. And he's always listening and paying attention to what their struggles are. And he's always there to help them through however he does. And he heard what Herman's struggle was, and he listened to what it was. And so he called up Alex and was like, hey, let's pay for this. And then Herman got to tell Cindy, hey, we covered it all. We got it all paid for. My kids happened to be watching the end scene with me. Jane and Nora did.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the hardest part, because they came in at the end. I had to watch the last 15 minutes with them. And it was when Herman was whispering to her. And it was, then she turned to him and said, I made my chemo appointment. It's next Thursday. And Jane was like, Mom, why does it look like he's crying? Because, and I had to talk, and I tried to talk to them about being emotional, because I don't want them to understand that it still affects me. I don't want them to know.
Yeah.
But that trauma is real, and that fear is so real. And Cindy played it so well. But she does make her first appearance. And I think that this is going to carry over to the end of the season, and it is going to absolutely wreck me. So
yeah,
I might be a silent bystander in some of these conversations about the sermons coming up. But I do love seeing the relationship play out, because that's what real love is. That's what real devotion is, what a real marriage looks like. And unfortunately, we are seeing one of our other couples who we love and are fighting for, and we know how good they are together. We're watching them stumble a little bit. And this is our Stella ride. And I honestly, the only reason we're watching them stumble is because Taylor Kenny has to exit for a bit. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be watching them stumble. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm really confused. Okay. Like, I really
I'm a little ashamed of you.
Like, we know I've been saying that there's like vibes since
all of us have been saying there's vibes.
Popped on the screen. Like I said, I still think it's mostly Carver. But here's my thing. Okay, so we'll just talk about what happened first, I guess, before I get into all of my thoughts, because I got a lot of them. There were several weird moments. There was Carver when he first came up on Kelly, and he's like helping him set up something. He's talking about squad and how long he's been doing that. And then he said something about like when did you meet Kid? And then he was like, you're a lucky man, Severide. That's an awkward thing to say. Like, and I mean, you could tell Kelly thought it was awkward. He was just like, okay.
Like, I know, but why are we having this conversation?
And even that conversation, I didn't put too much focus on it. I was like, okay, he looks up. I was like, he just looks up to Kelly. He wants a life like Kelly has. I was like, okay, cool.
He does want a life like Kelly has.
Exactly like it, right? So we also see like his brother's there this week, which that part was tough because I mean we know the story about what happened with his brother and how traumatic that was, and Stella knows that story too, which is what's putting them so close to each other this week, because she's trying to be a good friend, which is fine.
But that's also how Stella leads, though. So she's also
Yeah.
trying to be a good leader by letting her
Yes.
team know you can count on me for everything.
Yes. No, I mean, I think she's doing everything right. Like,
Mhm.
I was happy as could be that moment when she showed up at the bar where he's talking to his brother. I guess he's going to give his brother the money. And she has that award of valor that her and Carver are going to receive. And that was a
Can we
nice
just back
moment.
up just for a minute? I love how excited Bowden was to give her those.
Yes, yes. Well, and I love it because I mean that was heroic. Like I'm glad that they're both getting this award. And like I said, and I liked how she presented that to Carver because his brother's just trash and is being really terrible to him. And he got to see that his brother is a hero and like everyone knows it. And so that was, that was a nice moment. I liked that.
I hate his brother.
Yes,
we saw him for all of 5 minutes. I hate that guy.
I hope we never see him again. I hope
Ever.
that's just done. Like,
Yeah, no. I hope we're done with him forever because I saw him and he didn't have to say more than 2 words. I was like, I hate this guy. He needs to go away forever. And I don't care how that happens.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like he's not even grown at all from the time when he like pushed him in a fire as a kid. He's still a complete and total jerk. So, okay.
And to see Carver cry.
Yeah.
Like,
guys, I love Carver.
He grew on me.
I do. And this is where my struggle is because I absolutely adore Carver. I adore him. I mean, as far as we're talking, like, I find him way more attractive than Kelly. So, like, he's my fire guy. Okay. But it's going in a weird direction. And I don't know what to think because we know Carver's not going anywhere. Like, I'm pretty sure, a series regular now. I think he is. Like, I think Jake Lockett is staying. So for them to take the storyline in the direction it seems like it's going, like we can't make him a bad guy because he's staying. And so this is where we can make him a
dysfunctional guy.
I don't know. I'm really
I think he's going to be the broken one. And I think that he's going to need fixing. And I think that's as far as it's going to go with Stella and him.
I'm just going to say that I heard it was on the other Chicago podcast, actually. There was like some sort of article where Jake Lockett said something about how they asked the question if Carver was going to get a love interest. And he said that it was going to happen and that it was going to be a familiar face at 51.
But
whatever that means.
Love interest doesn't necessarily, I mean, there's no way they're going to give away something that huge. There's no way those actors are allowed to give away a plot point that big. So he's probably playing on words. Yeah, he is going to get a love interest. Will this love interest want him back? Probably not. Because he's clearly interested in Stella. I mean, they made it obvious with when she had to scoot across his body. Yeah, I brought it up because I want to harass you about that a little bit.
Look,
you didn't even say, okay, so we all have a group chat for all the groups that we have on Facebook so we can discuss the episode as we watch it.
I don't need Amanda.
And Jeanette said, I'm a little ashamed of how much I like a scene. And that's all she said. And I saw that scene. I was like, I'm a little ashamed of you too. No.
Okay, here's the thing.
No. Severide is still very firmly in place in that firehouse. You don't get to be excited about that scene.
I know. This is why it's confusing, okay? Because you just get out your popcorn. We start arguing over this. She told me she was going to just sit back and watch us argue. Okay.
I've been waiting for this one.
Because I don't have Amanda to support me. Because Amanda feels exactly like I do. Look, I'm not saying that I like it. Because like I said, that's too strong of a word. But I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would hate it.
No.
So it's like my head is saying, no, this is gross. You are a married woman. My heart is saying that was pretty hot. So my heart and my head are arguing with each other right now, and I'm not really sure what to do.
She's been that close to other firefighters before, and that's never crossed her mind.
I can't discuss this with you. I need Amanda. I'm just saying that I am as confused about my feelings as you are.
I'm not confused about my feelings.
No, about my feelings. You're confused about my feelings. I am just as confused. I don't know why I feel this.
Your
Because
feelings
you
are
said
wrong.
he's hot.
I think he is very hot. He
That's
is by
the
far the
extent.
best.
That's
He
the
is the best looking
extent.
guy. I mean, he's better looking than Casey. He's the first like
Glad to
fire
hear
guy
there.
that I've been like, wow, he's attractive.
See, my love for the fire people is determined not even by looks at all. It's
Well, usually
determined
it's
by their
not.
character's personality and
He's not better looking than Hawkins. Okay, Hawkins was better looking, but he's close. Jimmy Nichols is better looking, maybe. Because like he's very different than
So I don't think that there is any way that you can make Stella Ride break up and have Carver be the one who breaks them up and have people still like and respect the show.
I agree.
Only
and that's
because
why
Taylor Kinney is such a staple that he is gonna, and this is gonna make me mad too. The only way that people will accept this is if they kill off Kelly Severide, which they better not do that. No more deaths. No more deaths there. No.
We need to know, like, Taylor being up in the air is what confuses this storyline, because if we knew he was going to be gone, like he's not coming back, then it would make it much easier to figure out a way to navigate through this storyline.
But I think that's the whole point, is we aren't supposed to know. So
well, that's what I don't.
So often we've been able to like sleuth things out and be like, and like we called Taylor Kinney's exit before he announced he was exiting. So there's a lot of things that we've been able to figure out based on the little nuggets they're giving us. So that's why I think that what's the actor's name who plays Carver?
Jake Lockett.
Him saying that, I think, indicates that it's not going to be on Stella's end. It's all going to be on Carver's end. I think the way he worded that says it's all going to be Carver, not Stella. And I think that is going to confuse things at the firehouse. And I think that is the soul. Like, he blew up in this episode and said, this whole family atmosphere, it's not for me. It's why I keep my distance, blah, 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 blah. That's why, because he could tell that he was forming a romantic attachment to his lieutenant. And he chalked it up to, I was too vulnerable with her. I shared too much with her. And I think that is what's going to happen, is he's going to try to pull away, but it's going to increase his romantic attachment to her, because Stella's going to fight for him to stay, but he's going to receive it differently than what she means it as. That's where I think they're going to take it.
Then that just makes him look terrible, which seems weird if he's...
No, it makes him look vulnerable.
Because once Taylor's off the show, for however long it is, Carver is our leading man. So how do you make him unlikable? I think. I don't know. It's weird to me.
The thing is, though, he's never confided in anybody what his scars are from, what he went through. So that's his connection with Stella. And I think that Stella is going to help him see that, because let's dig into the preview for next week. She approaches his apartment and says, if I can't trust you, you can't be on my team. I think that's the direction they're going to take it. And he's going to realize that his romantic interest in Stella is not actually a romantic interest. It is a real connection with another human being, which he has fought having since he was a child. But suddenly it's there, and he's confused by what these feelings are because he's attached to this person. So I think the way you make him a decent human being is he's fighting what he thinks is romance, because he knows it's wrong and he doesn't want it. But Stella's going to help him see, listen, you're broken, man. It's super unhealthy what you're doing. You're killing yourself. And Stella is going to help him overcome that. He's going to come to rely on her as a lieutenant over romance. And maybe him and Brett, or maybe which is weird for me.
I feel like him and Brett, because honestly, let's talk real quick before we move on to the rest of the preview, since we've mentioned Brett. Do we think there's any chance Casey's going to come back?
I think he's hinting.
There has been a lot of Casey talk.
I thought I read something before the season started that maybe he might be.
And maybe they were discussing it with him if they thought Taylor might be leaving, because the only way to soften the blow of Taylor Kinney leaving is if we get Matt Casey back in there. Because, I mean,
but if they bring him back, it better be permanent.
It needs to be
Otherwise,
permanent.
Brett has to permanently leave with him.
They have to be together.
Yeah, you
Because
cannot bring
even
him back
that-
and not put them together.
Even that like love at first sight discussion. I mean, God, how sweet, Brett. I mean, like she was even saying like she was almost like maybe it was love at first sight, and maybe she just didn't realize it at first. Like, and poor, Violet's like, no, like God, I love Violet so much. She's like, gross, no. And what'd she say? Like attraction
too.
is, but she was, both of them were like, no. But then of course I asked Cruz, and he was like, oh yeah, fell madly in love with Chloe immediately. I'm like, my sweet little
Even
romantic
through the smoke.
I'm like, that's
Then
me
he-
though. Like I'm that
But
romantic one that definitely believes in love at first sight.
But he's Joe, so I mean, he's the hopeless romantic of the entire
Yeah.
party.
Yeah. I
That's
love
not
it.
the
If you had
part
asked Gallo, I bet Gallo would have said yes too, because I feel like he's that like crazy romantic type, but we didn't even ask them.
I don't know that he's so much romantic as he is lustful.
I think he thinks he's romantic
Yes,
though.
that'll give
Do you know
you.
what I mean?
Yes,
Like I think he would
yes.
believe in love at first sight. And Ritter would be like, no, like that doesn't happen.
I think Ritter would be like, well, we can think it's real, but it's actually not real when you actually look at it.
Exactly. But talking about Gallo and okay, so the other part of the preview next week. I am not here for this, and I'm so surprised that I'm not here for it. I don't want it. Gallo
I
and
did.
Violet. I'm gonna need more build up.
Yeah.
Like, which maybe it's like for show, because if you notice, like Sylvie's face was my face when I saw it. It was like, why are you kissing? So maybe Gallo's like got some woman like after him or something, and he's trying to like blow her off, because that sounds like a Gallo kind of thing to do. And he's like, maybe he's using Violet to like
Violet's the one who kissed him.
Well, then maybe it's the other way. I feel like maybe it's going to be like they're using each other to make someone else think that they're involved. But of course, maybe that will be the steps, because I could get back behind Gallo and Violet, but you're going to have to sell it to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And like, even I were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. Like, I really like that trio of friends. I really like it.
Like it's another like end game. If you do it again, it has to be end game forever. Like we can't break up that friendship group.
Yeah, E brought up a really good point too about them being together. What did you say?
I feel like he'd actually, now that I think about it, I think he'd be pulled into that relationship because they would be all over him.
Wouldn't they just put him in the middle? I feel like every time they had an argument.
Ritter, you won't believe what Violet did. He's like, I don't want to hear it. So I don't know. I could see that being a problem, but I'm with Jeanette. Like, they've done a lot of work on that friendship right there, to the point where I'm no longer a fan of them being together unless they work really, really hard to get them to that point.
Exactly.
At this, it's not going to work.
Plus the fact that like her relationship with Evan seemed so much more mature than poor Gallo. And I mean, I say these things like I don't love him. I absolutely adore Gallo. But he is immature, and he is like goofy, and I don't know, he's not the same as Evan Hawkins. So like to go from that being your relationship and how in love and how serious that was back to Gallo.
And I think because of that, it would seem too soon for her to go from Evan to Gallo.
So maybe it's just an act. Maybe because I mean, Sylvie's face was super surprised. I mean, I loved her because I swear I was making the
laughed
exact
outright.
face. I was like, when I saw it, and then they pan to her, and that's exactly what she's doing. I'm like, that's all of us right now.
I did rewind it a couple times just to watch Brett's face.
So it's got to be an act, which if that's the case, like maybe I will love this because it'll probably be really funny, especially if Gallo doesn't realize that she's going to do it when she lays one on him.
Yeah. And that's what it looked like to me, was that it was just a spur of the moment she kissed him, because it looked like he turned to say something to her and she was like, bam.
Oh, he's going to be so madly in love after she does that, though.
That's exactly the problem. We just said Gallo thinks he's a romantic. That's where his head's going to go. And he's going to talk to Ritter constantly about, well, should I do something? And Ritter's just going to be like, no.
Yeah, it should be a fun story, I guess. We'll see.
We'll see. This week on PD, we finally return to the ensemble cast show. I was so excited to see everybody as a team in the field doing their thing, coming together. Amy and I were chatting a little bit before the podcast started. I loved the individual storylines. I loved getting to know them a little bit better. I loved getting to get into the psyche of each character a little better because I love these characters so much. But by mid-season, I was like, all right, come on, let's get back to the group. Let's get back to our family here. And we brought it back this week. We got to see Voight in the field. We got to see him start off by visiting my guy's grave. See, I know. I was going to say a sentence that was going to come across real creepy and weird, so I'm not going to say that sentence.
Oh, now you have to say it.
Christopher Herman and Al, they're my guys. I was going to say,
what's creepy?
I like all the old men.
I mean, I like old men too. It's fine. I just like them young too. I like Voight. I'm not going to. It's fine.
Well, okay. Here's the difference in our statements. All right.
We like Casey Jones. Okay. This thing for Al has been going for 20 years.
That's true. That's very, because
more than 20. Like, oh my God, I'm older than I think I am. Closer to 30 years. Okay. Like, jeez. I said 20 and I'm like, I wasn't 20 then.
Is it really been 30 years? So
probably 25 to 30, Maureen. We're old. Okay.
That's a disturbing reality you just threw on me all at once.
I'm sorry, but it's true.
All right. Anyway, so I didn't get the tie-in to this week from that. I didn't see a real point to it. I was glad to see it because I love Al and I love Voight and Al's relationship. I didn't see the point though. I think that it could have been because I heard the 200th episode did honor to Al. So maybe they're building up to next week's episode. I don't know, but
I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
So, or maybe they said it was this week. They were paying homage to it. I thought they said 200th, but we do see that, and he gets a text message from ASA Chapman.
And we saw her once before too, like with the Sean case. That's when we've seen her, right? Okay.
Yeah, because she's the new state's attorney. So she'll be in all the legal cases.
See a lot of in the past, I feel like we haven't seen. The only time we ever saw the state's attorney is when they were doing that that legal show where they were trying to do that. Otherwise, we never really saw the state's attorneys very much.
I feel like we saw a lot of the state's attorney in the first few seasons. Not just when that other show was on, but it was the first few seasons we saw a lot.
Yeah, maybe.
And I feel like when the legal show came on, I feel like that's when they started to pull away from it a little bit more to reserve it for that show.
Maybe that's the case.
And they never
I don't know, I
jumped
just
in.
felt like I hadn't seen them in a while. But
we haven't.
But yeah, so she calls and she needs help. She's a little vague about what's going on. She's got a file.
I felt like I even sent in the chat, okay, so she's related to this informant in some way, right?
It was
got to be close to this informant.
Yeah, it was obvious that there was some sort of relationship more than just them being the informant. But
I was like, she was in a relationship with this dude. Like,
yeah, it was something.
Did she say that it was a guy? Because I didn't catch that. I thought she just said informant. So I thought
in the beginning they just said informant.
Yeah,
it wasn't until a little bit later they mentioned his name. But yeah, so this person Morales, who's a big time drug dealer, obviously this informant that they had was murdered years ago. And so now she thinks she's got this information to try to take Morales down. And of course, you want intelligence to handle it, because who better to handle this?
Except for when you double book people.
Yeah. I mean, Hank was hesitant because at first he was like, I'm not
because he's not stupid.
Stealing stuff from narcotics, but she had already arranged all of that. So,
but Hank also knew there is something else going on. There's a reason Hank heads up intelligence.
Yes, exactly.
He headed up because he's an idiot.
Right. But so they're following this guy Pedro, who they think is delivering the drugs, lead to get to this Morales guy. But of course this car chase leads to some huge accident where not only is Pedro killed, but some just random woman that happens to be parked in her car, which that's terrible.
Just got in her car too. She just walked into the car.
And then there's not even any drugs in the truck. It's just acetone. So they have nothing on this guy.
And it's important to note that it wasn't because intelligence was there. It just seemed like everything was going wrong. They had a police siren was going off, chasing down what was a possible burglary,
Yes.
just happened to be down the same road.
Mhm.
And Hank
just
didn't get
spooked
to
'em.
him soon enough to cut their sirens.
But obviously that didn't get them anywhere. So they got to take a new approach. And this time they get to use Dante, which was fun. I love seeing him do this stuff.
He's my guy. I love Dante
He's just so good.
I like him a lot.
a lot.
I do. I like him a lot.
Like he's even with Adam for me, and I know that's insane for you to
That's
hear, but
not.
he's even for Adam for me.
No. But he's up there.
You just went completely silent for a minute.
No, I mean, like, there's no way. Look, though, PD's the one I can't hardly pick favorites because it's Kim and Adam, and then literally everyone else. Like, I'm not gonna pick a favorite in the rest of them. They're all great. They're all above every med person, probably. Well, not except for Will Halston. They're all above every fire person for me. Like, they're up there. So.
And the other thing I want to say before we get too deep into Dante Undercover, which see what I did
Dante
there,
Undercover
is I love watching Kevin and Dante be partners. I love that matchup. I think he and Kevin work together, and plus I like that we're seeing so much of Dante Undercover that means we see more of Kevin, who I feel like they need to highlight him a little more. Like, why is he not celebrated more?
I have no idea.
It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm here for that.
I agree. But like, not just Kevin, because I like Dante with everybody, because even in this like bar where he's, trying to get like hired onto the job, it backfires at first because they're like, no, we're good. We don't need anything.
But that's why
and
they
I was
sent
thinking,
Adam in.
oh, what are we going to do now? And then all of a sudden I see Adam stand up and I'm like, oh, he's in there too. Starts causing a ruckus. And Dante, is kind of standing up, gonna like put him in his place, gonna like get this guy's trust. And then he like actually hit Adam. And I was thinking, oh my God. I wanted to see just a tiny scene of that afterwards. Like where Adam was like, man, that was a little much, They didn't do it.
I wanted to know so bad how much of that was planned, because he didn't just hit him once. Like he hit him a couple times, and it was like real legitimate punches to the face and to the chest.
Yeah. But Adam is another one that is really good undercovers. That's why he just rolled with it. I mean, I feel like him and Dante, but I mean, not that Kevin isn't good, but we've seen Adam do it a lot where he's just really good at rolling with the punches, literally.
And I think that's why, because Kevin is kind of Jay Halstead like, where it's hard for him to break from book.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Adam was hired specifically because he doesn't play by the book ever.
Exactly. And it seems like Dante is somewhere in the middle. Like he has his things, but he's really good at using his instincts and going with the flow on this stuff.
And what made me laugh out loud about that scene was that first punch looked to genuinely take Adam off guard.
Yeah, I don't know that Adam knew he was going to do that.
I loved it. I laughed so hard.
I did too. But it worked
though.
It worked. He got hired.
So I mean, it does work. He does get hired by this guy, and I just like how Morales comes over all big, like, you got a license? Hook him up, and then walks away. Like,
that was easy.
All you gotta do is punch a couple people in a bar. Who knew? That's what you gotta do to get him as a drug lord.
Exactly.
So when he goes into, oh my gosh, this Hank's expression when Dante goes to drop off the package. And first of all, I was thinking Morales is obviously very good at not getting caught, right? Do you think he's not going to inspect his packages for maybe a hole? And when Dante walked into because he put the hole in there to put the camera in there to see what it is, which is books.
Yeah.
But when he walked into the building, the tape was very obviously peeled back still. So
I didn't notice that.
Tampered with. So you think Morales is going to pick up on the fact that you checked out his product? That might be a little.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
His thumb kind of went over it when he walked in the building. He switched hands and it went down over it. Like, Morales is going to see that if I see it. So he walks in there. He's investigating. And I absolutely thought that guy was there to rob Morales.
I did too.
And obviously Dante did, because he used the safe word. Which was storm. It was the word storm.
Yeah.
And then Voight, that's when Voight finds out that
Mike,
the ASA double booked this case. She asked someone off book who no longer worked for narcotics to come in and help run this. Like,
Yeah.
Hank could have shot
course-
that guy if he didn't turn around.
She said she pulled him, like, so I don't know what took him so long to go take care of this then. Like, that seems strange, but I don't know. Either
Well-
way, Hank was like, girl, you gotta chill. And like, this is like, if you want me to do this, back off and let me handle it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And my gosh, and this is where Dante is, this is where he gets into slippery situations, because Dante draws the line. Like, he'll go off book, no problem, but he absolutely draws the line on innocent people.
exactly.
Hardcore line, which is right and good.
I thought he was gonna get like made for sure, like with
Mhm.
that old woman, but he was
Yes.
not gonna let Lorenzo like hurt her
No.
at all.
So a little background, they go in and it's a rip that they go in there. It's a robbery. And at first I was like, oh no, they're going to take jewelry or something. What is this place? And I don't know why I couldn't figure out what they were doing, because I missed somehow that the truck was
Mhm.
carrying acetone. I missed it.
Okay.
So I didn't know
I
they were
still
in a nail
don't know why
salon.
it's carrying acetone. Like,
Well, because that's what they're cutting the heroin with,
okay.
or the
I
cocaine.
missed that part.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know enough about drugs to understand like what you would use acetone for.
well, I only
but-
know that because when they said what was in the truck, it was what they were cutting the product with. So that's all they had. That was what they
Acetone.
said. Yeah. And then when
Jesus.
you see Dante and what is it, Pedro?
Lorenzo
Morales'
is
guy?
the
Lorenzo.
Mhm.
When you see them in the
Or Lonzo.
warehouse,
I don't
Lonzo,
know, something
whatever
with
his
an
name
L.
is, when they're in that warehouse working on the cocaine, they're actually pouring the acetone in there.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they're cutting it with.
wild.
Yeah. I don't know how real that is. I
know.
never did heroin, so I don't know.
Never done
I have no
either, so
idea.
Not
But
sure.
that's what they're there for. Thank God they're only there for acetone. Thank God. Because
Yeah.
I don't think Lorenzo, whatever his name is, would have had any problem shooting Dante, like, at all. He's got no loyalty to this guy. But Dante pulls her aside, yells at her, and I love Dante. This is why I love him. He whispers, "It's okay. I'm not gonna let anybody hurt you."
And she just believed it. You could just tell, you
Yes.
can hear in his voice that he's
Yes.
trustworthy. Like, yeah.
And he didn't have to. He could have still played character and still made sure she didn't get hurt. But he is so
Reassured her.
core for the innocent that he stopped what he was doing to make sure she knew, I'm protecting you.
I know.
And then he walked out.
Sweet man. I love it. I love
I
it.
love him. And
Yeah,
then
me too.
obviously Hank is going to figure out what's going on. He finds out the ASA is sleeping with the informant. So it's a very messy situation. And at the same time, I'm getting stressed out because Dante's asking a lot of questions very suddenly. So the whole time I was stressed out because my guy is asking these questions and Alonzo's starting to get a little smart. And we see how smart he actually is. And even Hank gives him credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when people get too smart and they think of how smart they are is you give away way more information than you intend to.
Hmm.
And so Hank obviously figures out how he knows exactly
Yep.
how you know the ASA
Yep.
is sleeping with him. Okay, I got you. All right, so let's figure you out. And he
Mhm.
does.
He had to, because we knew that Lonzo wasn't gonna flip on Morales.
Yeah.
And here he was ready to tell everybody about ASA Chapman.
Mhm.
So, Hanks had to find another way to take down Morales, and it works by finding out about Lonzo's cousin and his involvement in all this, and it just kind of unfolds from there.
Mhm. And honestly, the reason he won't flip on Morales is because Morales has over half the police force in his pocket, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's why he won't. And I think that this is why you get Hank to handle a case like this.
Absolutely.
This is exactly why. So they do find a new plan to take down Morales. They find his cousin, but it was accidental, right? They were going through all the paperwork, and suddenly there's this. It looks like it's been crumpled and stomped on, and it's all messy and dirty, and just, oh, look at this sheet from God that says I have this cousin who has this construction company. Ta-da!
And that cousin, he wasn't meant for
Oh.
any of this criminal life, because
No.
they flipped him like that.
He was
He was like,
crying within like a second.
That's how I would be. Like, if you bring me into the police station, I'll be like, no, I'll tell you everything. Like,
Well, the
just-
thing
I was
is,
good.
he never, I mean, this guy didn't even know this was
He
really
didn't know.
happening. And he is
Mhm.
not this kind of person. He even said, there's a reason I haven't talked to him.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with this. I didn't want anything to do with this. I didn't even know it was happening until after it happened. So this guy has been carrying this for what, 7
know.
years?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad, but at the same time, I know why he didn't say anything. If he knows
Well, these
who
are dangerous
Morales is
people.
and he knows who his cousin's working for, then I think his cousin is probably, again, Lonzo has no problem killing anybody. So I think
Nope.
he probably would have been like, do you know who I work for? Do you know what
Yeah.
would happen if you say anything?
Yeah.
I felt bad for the cousin. I felt real bad for that guy.
Mhm. But they're able to dig up that body. And this is the part that confused me. So they found a gun, which I'm guessing, I mean, was the gun registered to Morales? Because typically
Mm-mm.
criminals don't register. Like,
No.
so how
There
did
was
they?
blood on the gun that they think was Morales's.
Oh, because he beat him. So there was blood on
Mhm.
his hands. That's okay. That's the piece of information I wasn't putting together. But
Yeah.
okay. Yes, but so they find that, and that is able to flip Lonzo. And he's not going to tell him Chapman because, well, now, he's going to go down for murder here.
Yep.
And so he tells them everything they need to know. They arrest Morales. And I don't know. I did enjoy, there was a moment between Voight and ASA Chapman, which was a nice
Couple
little
of 'em.
moment. I liked how he didn't judge her about her. And I wonder if that had a little bit to do. I know it wasn't a romantic relationship, but with, what was her name? Anna from last season,
Oh,
the
yeah.
informant. I know that wasn't a romantic relationship, but Hank got really close to her. And
Yeah,
I think
those
that's probably
boundaries
why
got cloudy.
he understood how that can happen with these type
yeah.
of individuals,
And he said to her, when she said, why didn't you say anything? He said, I know what this job can do to people. I've
Mhm.
seen really good people
Yeah.
slip and break. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I think I even said this in our chat that Hank's character arc from season 1, when I was messaging you guys being like, am I supposed to like this guy eventually?
Mhm.
Because I don't think I like this guy right now. To
Yeah.
now, where he is almost like a father figure to every person who comes
Mhm.
into his life and
Yeah.
direct them in the right way. His character arc has been beautiful.
No, I agree.
And I like watching it. And even with Haley, how he's handling her, because he was with her this whole episode, father figure, leading her down the right path, making her a great cop, and also making sure
Mhm.
she doesn't turn out the way he did. Maybe
Mhm.
that was the significance of Al, is because he's making sure that they don't turn into who he is.
Maybe.
And even when she wanted Lorenzo, she's like, let's just do it. I don't care if I lose my job. Hank's like, no,
Mhm.
we're going to do this right way. So there's all the moments he had with ASA Chapman.
Mhm.
I think were really good moments, really sweet, really comforting, really,
Mhm.
it showed how far Hank has come. And I also
I'm-
think losing his son had something to do with it too.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I'm always looking for a romantic relationship for Voight because it's been 10 years and we've never had one. So I think I got a little excited when she said she wanted to buy him a drink. And even though he said not at this
I didn't even
time,
catch that.
she offered to buy him a drink. And he was like, maybe another time. So I was like, maybe another time. I've
I
wanted
didn't
him to
catch
have
I
just
don't-
someone
I don't like that one though.
to spend his life with. I could be okay with it.
I felt too much fatherly vibes coming off him for her because
Oh, I
it felt the way he talks with Haley is how he was talking to ASA Chapman.
don't know.
I really
know.
liked him with
Either way.
Sam.
No.
I wanted that one to work out so bad.
I wanted him to be with Olivia Benson.
That
Can
would've
that
been
still happen,
great.
please? I don't watch SVU, so I don't know what's going on with her
I
romantic
haven't
life.
in a long time, but I would love him with
still want
Olivia
her
Benson.
with Stabler, but then I saw her with Hank Voight, and I was like, well, maybe I want this
Remind me who Stabler is.
from SVU. The guy, Christopher Maloney.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking love him.
I thought you said you wanted Voight with Stabler. I was like, I don't remember that
no,
character.
No, Benson. But I don't know. I want Hank needs something, a
I agree.
friendship, anything like
Him and
with
Kevin
someone.
both are the two who are like, you guys don't need somebody long term. Although Kevin at
Right?
least had Celeste for a little bit.
Yeah, Hank has never had any romantic relationships.
But I
in
think
the
they're
whole
highlighting that
show.
he's married to the job, and I don't think he'll let any. I think it's another part of his character arc where he won't let someone else come in anymore because he watched his love was his first wife.
I know, but it then, I mean, I don't, then a friendship then. Since he's
And
lost Al, he doesn't even have
I was gonna
that.
say I don't think they're gonna let it happen because his first wife died. He's never gonna have a love like that. His only friend died. He's never gonna have a friend like that. So I think Hank is just so scarred and damaged that
Well,
his
then-
team is they are it for him.
What's her name means to move back with the grandbaby then. Like, let him have someone in his life that, like,
I
I
agree.
don't know.
He needs, but this is his family, and we get speaking of families next week. Now, we don't know for certain what's going to happen in the 200th episode, but
We know enough.
we have been reading reports about it being Berserk heavy.
Look, I know that the 200th episode, I mean, we've seen the preview. Okay, first of all, that she's trying to save someone in like a train or something. We hear Adam's voice, like
Yell
calling
Kim.
out her name. Yes.
I
Like-
love when he yells her name like that, just by the way. Look at Jeanette. What I love most about it is how hot and bothered Jeanette gets when you bring it up.
Hot. We also know that filming for the 200th episode, part of it was done at the Burzek house. And that is where we got our cute little Burzek family selfie that Michaela posted on her,
Yeah.
Ramona, not Michaela, where Ramona posted on her Instagram. So pretty safe to say this is a Burzek episode. I've also read, and I actually looked up an article when we were starting. There's like some pictures. They are being like, somehow they're trapped somewhere, but they're trapped together. And there's supposed to be some sort, and there's supposed to be some sort of, I don't know if some old feelings like for Kim's trauma like come up, and so she's sort of having a hard time, but I think Adam's going to be there to kind of help her through it. I think this is going to be our moment. Now, I'm not saying like everything's going to be perfect after this, but I really think that this is going to be a good episode for the Burzek fan. I'm putting that out into the universe and going to make it so, because I've been waiting a long time for this.
And I think it bears saying that this is Jesse Lee Sofer's return.
Yes.
He directed this episode. So Jesse,
He
I think
knows what
that
the fans
if
want.
if you don't give all the Burzek moments promised, Jeanette might be coming for you.
Yeah, like I'm already mad at you. All right, not Jesse, obviously. I'm mad at Jay, so don't make me mad at Jesse too. All right,
I'm not as mad at Jay as everybody else is.
I'm livid, but that's
I know.
Another
very-
time.
Jay.
You are too?
Yes, they like killed his character last episode.
I don't agree with that.
Well, you're wrong.
You're outnumbered.
That doesn't happen very often, Eve.
Well,
So
it
I doubt
happened.
I am.
You're
This time
outnumbered.
you're
this
very
time.
Well, that is our very extensive talk on PD. I welcome back PD's ensemble team up. Of course, we're getting mostly just 2 characters again next week.
It's the best, too,
But-
so it's okay.
it's Jeanette's favorite too, so that means something. So we're gonna tune in for that next week, obviously, and hopefully we will have a very giddy podcast to have for you next.
I might watch that one
Tuesday.
live.
Ooh, look at
I don't
you!
do that very
Get it,
often.
girl.
I know.
So you can tune in Sunday where our Fox 9 is going to come at you. We talk 911 and that one. OG. When is that returning? Is that returning soon? March
6th. Mhm.
So right now we're just discussing 911 Lone Star, but soon after March 6th, it'll be 911 Lone Star plus 911. And then on Tuesdays, you obviously have our NBC nights with One Chicago. And next week is the return of Grey's Anatomy. So the following Wednesday, you will have our ABC nights return to you where we discuss Grey's Anatomy, Station 19. And those are set. So those we will tell you about because those are our set ones that we recap for you. So that's it. That's there for you. Check out our One Chicago group. It's One Chicago Family Fan Club. Let us know what you think, not just of the show. We really want to hear what you guys think on. We have our spoiler posts that are up for 36 hours.
Mhm.
Let us know in there what you think of the episode as it's airing, as it's coming on, because most of us get it watched that night or the day after, and I'm pretty sure PD will be watched live by all of us next Wednesday. So hit us up there, find it, let us know what you think. Give us some feedback on the podcast too. What you want to see, what you don't want to see, what you like, you don't like. We want to hear it all. We're doing this for you because, I mean, mostly because we want to talk about it, but we're also doing it because we want to do it for you guys. So let us know, and we'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye. Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.